Thank you for tuning in to our Adapting Pandemic weekly online town hall series, which is brought to you by Alchemy, Kheprw Institute's incubator focused on supporting entrepreneurs to build community wealth. Alchemy is giving out $500 grants each week to an artist or entrepreneur as part of our lead support fund. This week's winner is Jacqueline Fukua. Jacqueline is an entrepreneur and her business is the Kheprw Institute for Beauty and Culture, for Beauty Culture. Founded in 2015, Fukua's Institute of Beauty Culture is a beauty and barbering school located in Indianapolis, Indiana. The founder, Jacqueline Fukua, has practiced aesthetics and cosmetology for more than 20 years and launched the school in an effort to provide a more affordable and efficient way for anyone to jumpstart their career in the industry. You can learn more on their website, fukuainstitute.com. That's F-U-Q-U-A institute.com. The Lead Support Fund is made possible by our supporters. We'd like to take a minute to thank everyone who has donated to our fund so we can continue to give out these grants. Janie Banner, Jim Shurick, Alex Mattingly, Emily Scott, Ernest Disney Britton, Starla Hart, Rocket Teller, DBA, Indiana ATM Services, Colleen Wynn, Claire Wildhack Nolan, Pambana Uishi, Ashlyn Anderson, Judy Byron, Alvin Singh Swangle, Ron Gifford, and Joanne Venor. If you are in a position to make a donation of any kind, or if you're a local entrepreneur or artist and would like to enter to win our grant lottery, visit our website, lead.kheprw.org. That's lead.kheprw.org. Right. My name is Chinyelu, Mwaafrika. I have been working with the Kheprw Institute for a bit over 15 years now. And today I will be moderating this conversation and making sure that everything goes smoothly. I'll now give our panelists a chance to introduce themselves. I'm just gonna go on the list, in order the list of names that I have right here. So Okara, if you wanna go first.
Hello, my name is Okara Imani. I am a vocalist, performer, and writer, born and raised in Indianapolis. This is my performance home base as well. And I think that's all to share for now.
Yep. Omar?
Hello, my name is Omar Rashan, entrepreneur slash shapeshifter slash creating. Basically emerged in the visual design aspect. I'm glad to be here with.
All right, thank you. Tatjana?
Hello, everyone. My name is Tatjana Rebelle. I am a writer, parent, organizer, activist, curator of Vocab Indie, and founding member of Cafe Creative with Kheprw Institute.
And Ess?
Hello, I'm Ess McKee, visual artist, multimedia visual artist, illustrator, graphic designer, curator. Also, I'm the current spring curatorial fellow for 10 East Arts Hub.
Great. And our sixth panelist, sixth, am I counting right? Sixth panelist, Gary G. He's running a little late. Oh, wait, no. Yeah, and he's running, fifth panelist. He's running a little late. He will be here soon, and when he gets here, we'll give him the opportunity to introduce himself. So just a little quick rundown for those who don't know about the way things are going to go for the duration of this call. We're going to have a quick Q&A between the facilitator, myself, and the panelists, all these lovely people on my screen. They'll have an icebreaker question, and they'll each have 20 minutes to respond to the questions that I ask. After that, we'll have a 20-minute question and answer period, in which case the people attending the call in the chat will be able to ask their questions, and we'll have a little closing conversation, and then that will be it. So to begin, the icebreaker question. In this time of self-isolation, social distancing, quarantine, whatever you want to call it, what are you all as artists doing to maintain joy and to find inspiration?
Oh, I guess I'll go first. So I'm finding most of my creativity and joy in the kitchen right now. I have been just kind of experimenting with different recipes, and I like to eat, so I figured I might as well get creative with that.
Yeah.
Outside of, different illustration and drawing prompts that I'm giving myself, I just find myself being creative in ways that I usually didn't give myself time to be creative with before.
Yeah. And real quick, since Gary just got here,
Um,
Gary. Oh, Andy's gone. All right, never mind. Take it away, Omar.
Basically, I've been really finding joy in just, I have, little seeds. So they running around and taking on that energy every day and being able to be more present with them each day. And really seeing how creative my children are, it has really inspired me to, look through the lens a little bit different. I never imagined, when I had kids, that this will be that I will, obtain that perspective. But honestly, it's kind of renewed my spirit in the creative space. So now it's kind of like, I think that has helped. And then, like like Sylvia, I'm taking on project, like I'm doing things that I kept, putting off to the side, whether it was client work or I had to get this piece done. I'm actually doing those things now, and my whole creative spirit is being renewed at this moment.
Yeah.
I can. Oh, Tatjana, you'll go. I think I've been creatively getting into administrative things in a creative way before. I was a little hesitant, thinking that maybe I didn't know enough of what I was doing to do things, and therefore was putting them off. So stuff like building a website actually happened during this time. It's something I was putting off and didn't feel like I could really do on my own. So I've been able to find joy in proving these small things to myself, that really will be larger in the long run and are very important, but I've created these little hurdles for myself, and it was weighing on me. So I've been finding joy in actually accomplishing those things and checking these administrative skills and tasks off, and feeling really good about moving forward professionally with that platform.
Yeah, so my joy's been a little the same, but also different. I've actually taken a step back from my traditional forms of creativity, and trying to learn how to be just like a human again. So I'm also finding a lot of joy in my DVD collection, going through my records, trying to like reminisce on some times in my life that were joyous when I didn't have as many responsibilities. As well as I started journaling again, which is something I haven't done as a writer in, I'm gonna say years. So getting back into writing for myself, and then getting back into the things that I have surrounded myself with, like my books and my record collection that I've been kind of just been getting dust, and sharing that with my youngest as well. So those are the things that I've been finding joy in right now.
And all right. Hey, Gary.
Hey, what's happening?
All right.
Man,
So what'd you say?
yeah, I was having some technical difficulty there. I lost the
Yeah,
signal for
no
a minute.
worries, no worries at all. So what you haven't missed much. Basically, I'm just having everybody go around and first of all introduce yourself, tell our attendees who you are, and then an icebreaker question, which is how are you in this time of social distancing and isolation and quarantine, whatever you want to call it? How are you as an artist maintaining joy and inspiration? So, if you go ahead and introduce yourself first, though.
All right. My name is Gary G, visual artist. Got degrees in drawing and ceramics, combination of self-taught and a lot of
You're cutting out a little bit, Gary. Could you
arts for learning in the city. As
could you
far
repeat?
as, man, as an artist,
Sorry, could you repeat that last part? You cut out a little bit.
you got me? Said, man, let me leave the studio to like when you come out now, like at night. When I realized nowhere to go, I've been staying more sorry. Did you hear me?
A little bit better. A little bit better. Hear us?
Yeah, I can hear y'all fine. I can see and hear you fine.
Okay, great. Yeah, your connection seems to be a bit more stable out here too. So it sometimes helps if you bring like the mic and stuff like closer to your face. So you can just like run that introduction one more time. And yeah, we'll see how it goes this time.
All right, well, let's see if it's worked. So I'm Gary G. I'm a visual artist, born and raised in Indianapolis, do 2D and 3D work. Got a few degrees, and I'm a combination of self-taught, primarily draw and do ceramics. Had a clothing brand, was pretty much just branding myself as an artist. As far as social distancing and isolation, I mean, I'm a visual artist, so I'm pretty much always seems like I'm isolated or socially distanced anyway, unless something's going on. It's just weird, you know, when you come out at night or try to go somewhere, everything's closed, or, you know, you can't get in at certain times like you used to. As far as like staying busy, I mean, I've been reorganizing my house, reorganizing things over here in my studio. And I've been fortunate enough this week to work with a few arts organizations. So I've been working with the Indiana Arts Commission on a grant panel. I worked with Arts for Learning this week, did a couple of videos and workshops with them and some yard signs, like signs of solidarity, and then sitting on this panel today. So, you know, I feel like I've been blessed just over the past few weeks to still be doing art, or it seems like the phone's ringing more because so many people are just at home, you know.
Yeah, yeah. All right, great. All right, so we're gonna get into the first question and answer portion of our talk today. So Jess, there'll be 20 minutes total for each question. So if you want to answer, I just ask you to please keep whatever your response is as concise as possible so that everyone who wants to have a chance to talk can. So the first question is, what ways are you all as artists being creative or staying creative during this time? Which is similar to the question, but also it's a little bit different. So. Whoever wants first. Yeah.
I see my name is technically listed first on the question, so I'll go first and like stay on that. I've been, it's been a little bit going in phases, sort of. So I began right out of the gate offering to send people recorded covers. And that was really inspiring because there were lists of covers that I had been meaning to do and kind of reinvigorate and do in my own way. So I was immediately creative when everything locked down. And then there was a phase that I'm coming out of now where I didn't really want to do anything. It was feeling like a little pressured, and I was a little overwhelmed for a couple of weeks here recently. So I think it's the recording of the covers that sort of re-inspired me and reinvigorated the way I hearing sound and wanting to share it. So I think that just getting in the GarageBand and like recording things and playing around is what's going to maintain my sense of creativity. And also it's April, so I do need to get on my poem a day.
So, Omar, I think if you want to answer, you're next on the list.
You said I am?
Yeah, if you want to say.
All right. Can you reiterate the question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no problem. How are you as an artist being creative, staying creative during this time?
I've actually, I'm being creative as far as like strategy guys. I think my approach into like how to market myself in today's society is totally different. I mean, it has to change because I feel like because of this quarantine situation, the world won't be the same. And then I've always kind of spoken along the lines of like, man, we got to get into a space where we're learning how to market ourselves, or we got a team of people that's helping market us, whether it's through our products, our services, or just trying to get a body of work out. So basically, I've been doing the back end creatively, strategically, working on marketing strategies so that I can have a system in place for, when I have a show, I can gather an email list and be able to have a proper response when somebody sign up, those type of things.
Great. Gary, if you got anything?
Well, I think the ways I've been trying to, I guess, stay creative is just getting organized first and foremost. I know that's like that was my biggest weakness. So I decided, like, in this time, I can work on my weaknesses. I focus on my weaknesses. Drawing, you know what I mean? Still writing. I do Monday to Mondays on my Instagram, like every Monday. And then I started a couple of other little program ideas. So I guess for me, man, it's just to be more active and stay relevant while people sitting at home. They need something to do. So I'm just trying to create content.
Yeah. Tatjana?
Yeah, that's an interesting question for me. Before this all started, I had actually planned on taking this year off from performing, just because I've been a spoken word artist for 15 years in Indianapolis, and it was time for me to take a step back to remember how to write outside of an audience. So that's the journaling has become very important to me right now. As far as a curator, right now, vocab's kind of been put on hold. I'm in a space where I'm trying to make sure that I don't personally inundate people with a lot of requests right now, and trying to be honest about my bandwidth and what I can take on as a human. So vocab's kind of paused for a minute, just to make sure that everyone is actually in a decent mental state before I ask people to take on some projects, or if I can do it myself. So right now, creatively, I'm trying to do stuff that's outside of, one, an audience, and two, trying to give myself and other people the space to be honest about where we're at as humans. I think a lot of people know me. I get real, I am a mother. I get very motherly. I just want to make sure everybody's good and like we're honest about the fact that we're going through a pandemic right now. So creatively, I'm just trying to take space to nurture who I am as a person before I get back into creating content for other people. So that's where I'm at in my headspace right now.
And then Ess, finally.
Yeah. So kind of like what Okara was saying, for a little bit, I was in a space of like, oh, I don't really want to do a whole lot of anything. Just trying to get my mind together on how to proceed with the changing times. But March 21st, I was initially supposed to start my fellowship at the 10 East Hub on East 10th Street. And so, of course, with that fellowship, I was going to be, you know, in-house, but bringing other people in. So that kind of, you know, with the social distancing, kind of caused quite a bit of a challenge. So my creativity has more so gone to figuring out ways to still do a lot of the programming that I wanted to do, but virtually. So I'm actually not able to do a lot of it, but I am working right now on a program or a series called Self-Care Mondays, where I'm working with different local experts to just bring different ways of caring for yourself to the public, so that we can still feel connected, but also express our creativity. So every Monday, those videos are dropping on the 10 East YouTube. So that's where the bulk of my creativity is right now.
Yeah. And if I can just say, it's definitely, I thank you all for your answers. It's not an easy time. I'm an artist as well. I operate a lot locally, primarily in theater and in music. I'm a student at Butler as well. And so when this thing hit, like I had a show with Gritty and the Craftsman planned that was canceled. We had a play at school that we were working on that was completely canceled when this thing hit. So definitely, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. But it's nice to hear how artists, how creatives are managing, because this is like, it's a time of crisis, and I guess crisis is a lot of the time it inspires great art. So I'm excited to see what comes out of this, I guess. So we still have about 10 minutes left for this question. If anybody has anything else they want to say, then feel free to move on to the next one.
I actually kind of want to hop on that because Sylvia reminded me, and thank you for that plug for your thing. I'm gonna make sure to share it on vocab. And that's one of the things that I have been trying to do is through my vocab page, share things that people are already doing. So have that be a link for other people. And then I've also been trying to focus my attention into the realm of the Cafe Creative. We were supposed to be launching that here in the next few weeks, but like everyone else is trying to figure out how to reconfigure what we're going to be doing, right? Like what happens if we can't get together next month or the month after or 6 months after and start to think about what art will look like in a virtual or a small scale.
Yeah.
So a lot of my creativity is going into working with other people to try to figure out what the Indianapolis art scene will look like in whatever this new future could be. And I know that's something that's been happening a lot in a lot of circles of trying to figure out how to navigate in whatever future might be, and creating systems to make sure that when this happens again, we already have some stuff planned and in the works that will make it a smoother transition next time.
Have you all, the rest of you taken into consideration what like alternatives for creative spaces could look like if this thing continues to persist.
I think it's gonna look like my house right now. Art
Yeah,
everywhere.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
but yeah, like since we haven't been here, because I haven't been able to go to the studio, it's like my living room has never been my space, and I'm cool with that because at the same time, everybody in the house is being inspired, and that's what I've always wanted to do. Is everybody in the house don't have to traditionally do what I do, but I want them to start problem solving, thinking outside the norm. And really, I've already had conversations with my kids about like, man, you should be not doing TV like this. I get a little bit of TV time, but I want you to start, creating. So like one of the things that I've noticed my kids been doing is going back to the foundation of using building blocks, using Legos, and creating imagery from that perspective. And that, man, I see excitement that. It's not like they haven't did it before at any point in their lives. It's just they doing it more. And I'm starting to see it, enhance their thinking because they're thinking different now, versus when they did it when they was younger.
yeah, yeah.
I can also say that with everything being online, I don't enjoy thinking about not being able to perform live for a very long time, because I do very much connect to the actual physical and aural vibration of other people in the room, and what sound actually does physically for us. But it does make you, especially as a musician, zero in on that studio recording aspect and how many different ways you can use your voice and use your voice to project your ideas and express yourself. So when I do think about long-term online only performance, that studio recording, like honing that skill, because it's separate. It's a separate part of musicianship. And I also was reminded, I can't say too much about it, but something that's been inspiring me and motivating and making me feel a whole lot better, is that the Arts Council of Indy, the Art and Soul featured artists, myself and Josh Betsy and Tanae, Karimu and Manan, they found a way to offer us, an option for continued programming. So we are working on proposing something that is going to be, online accessible, non-live, a modified version of our sort of fellowship with Art and Soul. And that particular proposal has gotten me really, really excited. It's based heavily in writing. And so that's an aspect of my craft that, much like Tatjana, I've moved away from for the sake of performing. So like, that also I wanted to mention. You could keep an eye out on it. I just can't say anything yet.
Yeah. Anything else from anyone, or?
I think for me, especially when thinking in the realm of vocab, right? Vocab has been a space where there's always been like a featured artist, a featured musician, and an open mic. And the open mic part has been the thing I've been trying to figure out how to do that. So a lot of it for me is just also taking some time to figure out the best course of action, right? I think one of the things is I'm not one to rush into things. And is it always Instagram Live? Is it Zoom? Is it YouTube? Trying to figure out what the best space to hold something that, very much like what Okara said, was very much based on the people present and the interaction that happens with that, and seeing how to still have people be able to come away with it without fully relying on the people in the room, quote unquote. I think this whole thing is forcing us to think about how our art is received in a different way, and using the time, because I mean, really, honestly, we got nothing but time, right? To figure out the best course of action to like do that in this, whatever this newness is, but taking the time to figure it out before we kind of just jump into things. So.
Can I add something to what she was saying? I just want to say, for vocal artists, poets, I think it's a great time for them, and I say that because you know, right now we in the digital era where video is you know, it's the beauty in it is, say you record something today, you just let it float out there, you become what you want to become, or that energy of flow right into where it's supposed to go, because it's out there and it's just floating. And I'm starting to realize, like, even from a marketing standpoint, like, when you have all these videos, I was talking to my guy Jay Working, we was like, man, he was on me. He was like, oh, you got so much information, you need to be doing more videos. And I thought about poets and vocalists and people who, you know, like trying to get their message out or just stay relevant. It's even more beautiful for them because now everybody's gonna see them. They're gonna run into it by accident, whether it's through the algorithm, through whether it's through social media, YouTube, all of those things. So eventually, you know, once we hit the pavement, we out here moving differently, all this content will be out there, and then it'll all catch up with itself. But yeah, I just want to say, man, you know, to the ones who have any concern, just hold on tight. The future's bright. We good. You know what I mean? Because what I'm realizing, a lot of us who are connecting and understand the energy and the powers of being in the room and all of those things, we're figuring out ways to engage, and we're gonna change, you know, how we do things, but not in a bad way. We're just gonna figure out how to connect even more because, man, people just want to feel connected. And I start, as some of you may know, you see a lot of silly stuff on social media because people are thriving for attention.
To kind of piggyback off of something all of y'all said, like, I know with Omar, me and him collaborate a lot on different things. So the videos for me, I know that's one of the ways has been helping me get seen. And then like when I did Art and Soul, we didn't have the marketing company. So, you know, I'm still on my own to do stuff. A couple of fellowships or grants and things that I thought I had lined up didn't go my way. But like just working on my own, I come up with my own resources of things instead of trying to depend on the system, so to speak, anyway, because a lot of times, I mean, they'll interact with you, but it's only so much interaction with certain demographics, you know what I'm saying? So like my art really doesn't sell like that in Indianapolis. So my base really isn't strong for what some of them want, or I go against the grain a lot. You know, like I can do things by the numbers and it works. So you have to kind of prove your own method sometime to make things happen. Like, so in this time, I'm not gonna sit still and wait on whatever relief fund comes or whoever says they're gonna help me out, because that just ain't me. You know what I'm saying? If you're gonna help me out, you're gonna holler at me and help me out if you really want to help me out. The people who wanted me on their teams, they didn't contact me, so I'm playing on the team with them. You know what I'm saying? The people who passed me over or looked me over, and this time I'm like, I'm gonna keep doing what I always been doing, creating content. So the content's gonna get seen, like Omar said. Now I'm gonna keep building my content. Like I've been doing that when people sleeping on us as artists. We just got to keep moving anyway. So we got to change with the times. I'm an analog guy in a digital world, so I kind of walk that balance. You know what I'm saying? If all this stuff crashed today, I'm gonna still survive without technology. On the same token, I had to have technology to keep moving now. So I'm gonna just keep learning, like constantly learning. Whatever they do in big business, that's what I'm gonna pay attention to as well. But I'm gonna still stay true to my underground roots, you know. So, and I think as artists, we have to do that anyway because we are individuals. We are individual networks. So you just gotta keep putting into that network and infrastructure. So, like myself, I ended up knowing like it doesn't cost to advertise, it pays things to the content. So out of my own pocket before anyway, just like, you know, true hip hop is, we're gonna build it ourselves, you know what I'm saying? And they'll come. So
Good answers, everyone. Good answers. So we're going to move on to our second question. How have you seen artists or art being used to build community during this time? What are some lessons we can take from what we've seen? And
Yeah. So the primary thing we kind of started talking about already is a movement to not only just video content, but shared video content. These sort of virtual concerts and compilations of individual videos to create a virtual concert. We really kind of getting in all the nooks and crannies and trying to manipulate the internet presence as much as we can as performers, at least. I know that this is a time where visual artists can kind of thrive if you've already got a platform for selling your prints and things like that. I've seen that kind of boom. Paint and Sip was really huge in the city before this went down. So I've even seen that adapted to an online format, which is kind of amazing. I saw Box the Artist manage to make that paint and sip experience into something that they can send to you and you can do at home still. So I've been seeing the sort of direct artist to individual audience member become prevalent, as opposed to an artist in a room with a full audience. And I think the primary thing we can learn is that one, we needed more of these technologies and apps and things like that. We obviously weren't ready for it because now all these new ones are popping up. Video quality, audio quality standard will probably have to shift for just as a baseline for technology that we use every day. Because we know things like how long a person will pay attention if there's video lag, or how long a person will pay attention if there's audio distortion and stuff like that. So I think the lesson that a lot of developers will take is the quality of these things. The baseline has to be raised so we can be a little more prepared. Because in this time, we are obviously, as creatives, where everyone is looking. To find solace and peace and joy and hope and motivation. So that I think the developers and those who are in the tech realm will take this as a lesson of what the true baseline needs to be and the quality of what we use to share audio and visual materials. Yeah.
I don't know if we're still going in order, but I figure I can go ahead and jump into. So I have seen a lot more connectivity in creativity when it comes to trying to fill a need. A lot of people are very talented in crafting things with their hands, of, making masks and providing those to healthcare providers, or just selling them because it's hard to find masks right now, just to leave the house for essential things. But outside of that, like what Okara was saying, just spending a lot of time with online content, but not only for like personal gain, but connecting each other through like how to do certain things that people probably wouldn't have thought to do before. Just artists sharing their craft, sharing their processes, walking other people through those processes just so that they can get through the day with some sanity. And I've seen a lot more of where people are sharing with each other and coming together through this time, as opposed to so much pushing of product and pushing of come to this, do this, be here. Like folks are putting things out here like, hey, this is something that we can all do because we're all here in this together. And that's been encouraging for me. But I'm also learning, as far as a lesson, that I've known this, but I think other people are starting to see this. There are so many people that are not big business, that are doing things that we can all support. And it doesn't have to be, you know, us necessarily going to a website, which is awesome, but just supporting in terms of watching that video, or, you know, commenting on something that they've posted, just for us to stay connected with each other. But I mean, the town is out here. We know that when this thing lifts, there are going to be so many more new faces to come about, because we've discovered so many people that are doing amazing things during this time, just to get their craft out and share their talent with the world.
I think for me, one of the things that I'm hoping for is that this is kind of proving how vital art is to the community. I think by seeing how things shifted, right, that a lot of these big time arts communities and organizations and funders are now realizing how vital not just the main major galleries are or the major venues are, but also thinking about the fact that most of the stuff that's been happening in the city is from people that are doing it on their own, and people, the underground, and how vital the underground and what that looks like has been to most of the communities in this city. My hope is that people will start paying attention to the fact that there's so much more stuff going on outside than what they thought was happening inside their bubble, right? And that this could possibly be a push into not just having these types of things and the funding and that kind of stuff going to the major corporations, but seeing that maybe even after this is done, that people will start paying attention to the smaller groups and the solo artists and the other people that are doing stuff on their own, and maybe having some of that money finally start going to people that could actually use it within the community, no matter how small that community is. So that's my hope for this, is that people just start paying attention to how important everything and all the stuff that we're doing is for the community as a whole.
I would just add to what everybody was saying. Like I think the beauty in what's happening in our ecosystem at this moment is that, you know, we seeing each other and we're starting to see the value in each other. You know what I mean? Like I think a lot of times being in a city like Indianapolis, like we get into this mindset of like, you know, kind of being cliquish. I've never really been a big fan of that, because I think that we all one. We all are so connected. Like, you know, just if somebody's affected by one thing in the arts, it affects everybody. And I've always seen that, but I think now, you know, we're starting to value the community a lot more. And, you know, once this thing shift and change, I think a lot more collaboration is going to happen. I think a lot more of us is going to, you know, check in a lot more. And then we're going to share a lot more. I see a lot of people sharing more artist stuff collectively than we've ever seen ever in the past. And for me to see that and notice that, I think that's mind blowing. But yeah, I'm very optimistic. I'm very eager to see what's about to happen, because I'm also noticing human, you know, from a social standpoint, we shifting. For me, yeah, I just know it's a beautiful thing, just knowing that, you know, for a lot of us, I'm starting to see, and not even that, you're starting to see people for who they really are. If they was really a caring person, you didn't know that about them, where you get an opportunity to see that they was really nasty and you didn't ever know about them, you starting to see that as well. So yeah, I just want to add that into the conversation as well.
Yeah, like building basically what everybody said. I know art is pretty much like the backbone of civilization and societies at large. You know what I'm saying? Wherever artists are, it's like just the deviant group sometimes, or the group that's going to put the things together because we think outside the box in general, or have been in like outsider areas and then build communities. And as you notice, anywhere where artists have generally been before, is like that's the areas that end up getting gentrified. Or so artists have always had an impact and change on culture, whether it's musically or visually. But I think like earlier too, like Ess and I think Okara both said it, like there was a period like that maybe they had, and I know I had, where it really wasn't creating anything. It was just like a void, and you was just in a thought. And I think a lot of us, like I said, as artists generally are kind of loners anyway. So you'll tend to be within your thoughts, and you're creative, and it's like the emotion of bass or whatever it is going to come out. So it's just like we're generally people with feelings. Like I doubt that there's any real true artist that you would see like when the stuff was jumping off would be at the grocery store, like buying 80 cases of water or hand sanitizer and trying to resell it to people, because that's not our artist nature usually. You know what I'm saying? We are always trying to impact, inspire, or change culture. I think all of us that are true, like especially those of us that are here today, or just people in general that are true to their craft or what they do, we're not always focused on money anyway. Like, you know, the world revolves around money in a sense, but that's not really our primary focus. Our primary focus is to create with a purpose and a passion. And that purpose and the passion will kind of help fuel other people. And like they were saying, you know, with collaborative projects and the videos, like I worked with Arts for Learning, and we did a collaboration projects today. It kind of forces you to work with a group or work on the time schedule. And, you know, I work at my own pace at certain times, but it's like it all came out. But one of the people there has sent me a video with her son watching one of the videos we did, and just watching the kid's reaction to what we doing, and his mother talking to him. It's like that hit home with me too. So that's what artists are here for, like by design, you know what I'm saying, to inspire and heal. So in this time, it's like whatever's going on, all of us that are just staying positive anyway and trying to make positive changes or keep your mind in a positive place is just going to continue to inspire and grow. So I'm looking at it like it's temporary, that we won't be shut down in the house forever, or people be scared to be around people within 6 or 7 feet. I mean, I'm sure that the dynamic of the physical art arena and gallery will change, but it'll become an experience. Like Hebrew Brentley's Nevermore Park, you know what I'm saying? It'll be, people will want to come, and it'll be an experience when they come to experience the art. Maybe they'll value the culture more, you know what I'm saying, because they've been deprived of it, or they're getting glimpses of it on social media, and it's just like little snippets of tidbits, but maybe it'll inspire the culture to think like, hey, it's more than just going to the club or going to a basketball or football game. You know what I'm saying? Let me enjoy some live performances. Like these people really take their time and their effort, or they might see the passion and learn to appreciate that here, like in some of the other larger cities. So that's just my hope when the end of all the dust, you know, clears and settles.
All right. So moving on then. How has this experience changed the way you practice art and share with others?
So with everything being online, and me primarily before being a performance artist, I have honestly struggled with a balance. Um, Before we locked down, I was already in a place where I decided I had to put a limit on how many things I did for free, or how many appearances I made for free versus the practice and the work I was putting in for paid gigs, or focusing on long-term or recurring gigs. Um, I was already in that mindset. And then when we locked down, I realized that it was going to be even more difficult, because in a sense, right now people are expecting more online content and presence. um, and my first survival thought was, how are these things that I can do online going to help feed me in a time where I don't have my part-time gigs, I don't have any of my big periodic big ticket gigs as a performer. I don't have tips coming from Chatterbox. So I had to really, and I'm still sitting down and looking at how I share what I do and how much of it I can give as a gift, and how, which will come a little bit more now that I'm out of that funk. But how much of it I should or want to monetize and put into my larger career and well-being as something that, you know, people will put in for and pour into. Um, I think that's largely the change that I'm looking at right now, is having to balance that more than ever, because I don't have the option of having some jobs that are performance based or, you know, out of my major industry, and some that are. All of them right now are in my industry, and I have to decide um, how I'm going to balance what is a gift and what is something that I would like to be poured into, so that I can continue to grow during and after this. Um, so what that looks like in change of practice is largely getting more into the studio recording, tapping back into what little I know of production and working in GarageBand and that kind of thing, getting a lot more familiar with that. That specifically is a change of practice for me.
Guess I'll go. One of the things that's been interesting for me, as some people know, my poetry has a tendency to be raw and emotional. And for a long time, I made a point, not a long time, forever. I made a point to write poetry that invokes a lot of emotion out of people, which could also be sad and honest, right? It's been interesting for me that I have, aside from already choosing not to, realizing that my content actually might not be appropriate for right now, which has been a really interesting position that I'm finding myself in. And I know that honesty is something that's like always necessary and that kind of stuff. But am I trying to honor things of thinking about, is my content of even appropriate in times like that? So it's definitely altered the way that I think about my poetry, and brought up questions that I don't think I have ever had to ask myself before. So for me, that's been the biggest takeaway on like thinking about what my craft looks like right now.
I can say I agree with that. I've spent a lot of time just being more conscious of what I put out. If I put anything, I've personally been a little less visible online, especially around this time, but a little bit before we started quarantine. I just was doing a lot more self-reflection. So it's like even more now, I'm thinking about, okay, how do I want to present my art? But like Tatjana said, you know, I'm also thinking about the fact that everybody is going through something pertaining to the pandemic. So I just want to be conscious about really what I'm saying, what I'm doing, how I'm displaying what it is that I want to share. Is it for everybody? Like, and I usually don't, like before all of this, I didn't consider like, you know, what whoever is for me is going to be for me, and watch, you know, and support what I do or whatever. But the times are different right now. So I still want to be myself. I still want to present something that is me, but also be thoughtful of what other people might be going through right now. And I also was personally really like anti-live, anti-IG when it came to myself. Like I like watching other people and getting involved in their videos and stuff like that. But I really didn't consider that I would do such things, but I have certainly considered like how else can I share what I have going on and keep people involved or connected with me outside of just posting a photo online. So I have thought a lot more about IGTV and YouTube. I've gotten very familiar with YouTube, especially with the uploading of different videos every week with the self-care program. So it's changed a lot about the way that I actually think about my presentation and what it is that I want to share.
For me, I think I thought about the, really who's on the other end. What I have realized during this moment, I haven't really told my story. And so, during this, like you'll start, most people who follow me now, they'll start getting a glimpse of me kind of story a little bit more. But I think, being able to roll out that content in a way that people understand exactly what I do, I think, that's something that I'm starting to really focus more on. What I realized, I was doing it a lot more for clients and wasn't even doing it for myself. And I know that kind of sounds backwards, but sometimes as a creative, you're always putting your clients first and you kind of neglect yourself. And I always try to encourage creators really to, focus on that self-care, because you will get lost in the sauce. But most importantly, putting out meaningful content that hopefully would inspire and really just start telling my story. Because me personally, I do want to do more talking engagements. I do want to be more of a help in the community. And I have done these things, but I haven't done it at capacity of where I'm like, man, I'm in that space where I'm really doing this at a high level. And I'm, I could see myself getting there. So I think the sharing process of what I'm going to share is going to really lead up to that.
For me, I think it's been kind of like everybody else. It's like the content. So I've been doing, I think my Monday to Monday started on Instagram January of 2018 when I started Art and Soul. And it was kind of like to keep myself on track. And it picked up, just became a responsibility, not just something that I do, because if I don't post it on Monday, and I know I missed one like on a Monday and I had to do it on a Tuesday this time, but the main goal was just not to lose focus of the goal. Like, I was just losing track of days because it's like nobody here but me. So I just work crazy hours or whatever. So it's like I still have to pay attention to, everything else is going on around the world, even if I feel like it really wasn't affecting me, even though it affects me. You know what I mean? Like certain situations, like it was just me that I had to worry about outside of creating the content. And I know now that other people are home, or even for myself, it's like I have to be on that content and then move beyond Monday to Monday. So I did like where I opened up my studio and just talk, and then like doing the Arts for Learning programs. So it's like creating content, but I want to just create meaningful content or grow like some of the ideals that I already had. So I think this time is helping me to produce that, kind of like Omar said, is like he and I talk a lot or work together. It's like a little brother in a sense. But it might be things that I'll do and he might be neglecting of himself. And I'm the same way. It's like things I'm doing and I'm neglecting of myself. But I think like when you sharing with other artists, it keeps you on track. Like, he wants to do more speaking engagements, and the more we speak and talk about my plans and platform, it helps me, but it helps him. My other side of like the online content, even though I deal with another company now, it's like Omar helped me grow and develop a whole lot of mine as well. So like with the We Are Indie Artists Network, a lot of us grow with each other, and just try to stay connected to other people. So then, like, another thing is I want to try to set the goals just to call more people on a regular basis, like weekly or daily, just get to that point why this is going on, just for whatever, because on average, everybody's sitting around. So it's like, just the more you talk and you have conversations. And I think for me, like, a big thing, especially in our community, is mental health. You know what I'm saying? So, like, through psychological courses and just different books of the quotes and the goals. And I think it's important to stay on track and keep doing that while we isolated, because some people, it gets rough on them when they're by themselves or they isolated. So us as artists too, creating that meaningful content. There is somebody who's out there like, hey, big bro, where's that Monday to Monday at? Like, I need it today. So it's beyond just me being a visual artist. It's like I needed to expand my voice, because a lot of times they just look at the exterior and it's like they don't really think of what's going on in people's minds in general, or understand like the wealth of knowledge that people have, or the things that you might learn from someone that you don't even potentially think you can. So I mean, I just think it just staying with the meaningful content and just try to engage with people even outside of my own network is something I've been trying to do for the past few weeks. So
Right. All right. So next question. What are artists' needs this time, and what are ways the community can meet their needs and support each other?
So, I mean, I primarily will speak for myself, but I think in general as well, um, I would benefit from like recurring small investment in my craft and the building of my career throughout this time where it's completely changed. Um, a large part of me creating a website was so that you could subscribe for $5 a month with anyone who has a little bit of extra income, or anyone who is still able to work full-time or part-time. um, those recurring small investments add up a lot. I saw an outpouring of generosity at the very start of the lockdown, where people immediately latched on to the idea of me sending a recorded song, which completely floored me, but also gave me so much hope for what my community was willing to do, because most of those came from other artists, which also floored and inspired me. Um, most of those requests came from other artists who also need to be poured into. Um, so I think that's the way we've been supporting each other, is sort of commissioning one another for these things that we've developed, that we can offer online, or that we can send to one another, or just to say, I know that you're offering this to people. Yeah, here's $5 for this. This is what I can give. Here's 10. Are you going to send that print that you just created and I saw you? Like, all these things that we've been doing to support each other. I think what we need is for the general public, the general currently working public, um, to have that same sort of fire in them for investing in the arts community that is really holding us up right now. So far we've been holding each other up. We've been holding ourselves up. I think the need is for that recurring and intentional investment to be coming from the general public as well, or as we've seen with these organizations, creating funds and finding a way to make those funds go in cycles so they can continue providing artists with the help that they need for these logistic things that have kind of frozen. I think a continuation of that and not letting that fade away as we sort of all kind of get used to what's going on right now. I think that's definitely necessary, that consistency of investment that we've shown each other to come from the general public as well.
Yeah, speaking of consistency of investment, I will say that there are many artists on platforms like Patreon. If you know, if maybe you haven't heard of ways that you can support creative people, Patreon is a site where an artist has put on display some of the work that they've done, and you can provide um, for them monthly or just whenever you feel like it, just to help them maintain their craft. So I would say that would be one way. I have Patreon, but I haven't kept up on it. So this is definitely a time to for me to do that. Um, but I just kind of wanted to piggyback on what Okara said in terms of that, because that's definitely um, something that can be done from something as simple as like a couple bucks a month on a consistent basis.
You know, when I was sitting here and everybody was talking, I kind of thought, do y'all remember that old chain little message, or it was a money game where you give somebody a couple of dollars and then somebody give, you know, you just keep it going. And I feel like that's where we're at now. And everybody gets the opportunity to eat if we kind of, you know, roll out this thing and be there for each other. And it's not about a specific number, it's just about the ideal of just extending that arm and showing that love and that support. And it's alleviating that whole crab in the bucket mentality, which we've all been, you know, we've all seen, especially in the culture in general. But um, it's bringing that humanitarian aspect out of all of us. And honestly, you know, just as entrepreneurs, like the game literally changed because clients was just like, man, at a standstill, like a bank, everything was frozen. And it was just like, wow, like, what do I do? Because this is how I make my income. And so I just been kind of just, for me, it's just like, man, you know, just trusting and just know that, man, you know, um, mindset is everything. You know, if you're pushing that energy out and, you know, you putting that love out in the universe, of course, these things are going to happen. Granted, I haven't signed up for any of the grants or any of the relief. To me, I felt like it was overwhelming in the process. So not that I'm being lazy to not do it, is for me, it's like, well, I might as well go out here and just try to figure it out because it's too many red tape and everybody's going for the same thing. And so I'm trying to find a balance of, you know, saying, hey, when do you need help? And when can you just maintain? And the people who really need it, allow them to have it, because I don't want to be a person who's just taking and I'm maintaining, but I can see how, man, you know, things can look kind of scary. So um yeah, I just want to encourage all of us to support and anybody that's on this panel, if you got anything going on, hey, just make sure you follow me because I want to, and I might be following. I think it was one person I wasn't following, but my point is I want to, if anything I got going, like say if I get paid Friday, if I can donate $10 or $15 towards an artist, I want to be able to do that every time I get some type of income coming in and make my contribution. Um, I'm not gonna make any donations to these African, you know, like how they have like these little shows. I want to be able to make sure I could, you know, what I mean by that is, you know, they got these TV shows of, I mean, these commercials of, you know, people looking like they struggling and all that. I want to invest in my community and to the people, not to discourage nobody from doing that, but I don't know where that money's going. But I know if I make a donation to anybody on this panel, I know them. I know it's going to go towards something that they're trying to achieve. And I think we creating right now, society is forcing us to be more transparent. I think that's a great thing, you know. But anyways, that's all I had to say.
I was just looking up in the chat box, and I just wanted to say it was a Keena Lacey Rose had a question up there, and it was like, what kind of institution building among artists takes place best serve the artist's needs in the short term and in the long term? And I think he asked, like, what are some of the other resources or tools that we use and that other artists could benefit from? I think it's kind of some of the same stuff that we've already been saying, like utilizing social media now, or also relying on other artists or reaching out, like creating a network to build in the short or the long term. Is like, but if some people will actively do this because it's in their nature, but some people I think will only do for what's right now. So it's kind of like with the grants and the relief fund. I mean, I know, like, at the same time when I saw the grant, and I think one of the first ones I seen, it was like $500. I don't know how many people was applying or what it was, and I'm like, that's cool, but it's like somebody saying run, and we don't even know what we're running for. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not just gonna run into let me get this or get that because I can, because there's some people out here with the mentality like, let me get this money, let me get that money, and it's like, I mean, that's cool, but what is $500 really gonna do for me in the long term? Short term, I can spend that in 5 minutes, you know what I'm saying? But long term, it's like, let's establish some programs or some platforms that build for the artists that was already disenfranchised, that was already here, sustaining a community or building and growing their own fan bases organically or putting in the work, you know what I'm saying? Man, act, whether it was self-taught or we put in school hours and got out here on it, it's like, reward us for that. If you really want to create some kind of real loans or grants for artists that can really help us sustain, you know what I'm saying, like $10,000, $20,000. They want to talk money now. Where it's gonna come from, I don't know. But it's like, support the arts for real. If they want to say something that's gonna support us or we gonna benefit from, like, we need our own buildings or institutions to structure things sometimes. Sometimes then I'm not knocking many of the arts organizations or neighborhood things, because some people are legit, but it's just like anything else. Some people are in it just to appease whoever they need to appease or take care of whatever community they want to take care of or impress and uphold whatever demographic it is that they want to uphold. And they've never really been collectively about everything or everybody who was already in place or was there. You know what I'm saying? So to show some real support, that would be that. Like, really get out here on the ground and holler at the people who really been out here and say, what do we really need? You know what I'm saying? It's not like I said, some of that stuff to me is just like, that's putting a Band-Aid on a cut that's already been there. As far as a lot of us putting in our work, if somebody wasn't already a artist 3 years ago or 2 years ago or 10 years ago or 5 years ago, it's like they really not in the conversation anyway. So it's not a time to try to start that a business if you wasn't already doing it. Like, I think all of us is already here. We already been invested in this. You know what I'm saying? We've been investing our time. So it's like, that's the I'm saying to people, is like, we've already got track records, you know what I'm saying? Whether it's on social media or Vates for shows or concerts we did or anything like that. So it's like, if people really wanted to go, they could go off of those merits. But I mean, we know in the real world that doesn't exist anyway. So I just think it's, like I said, a lot of it just comes down to me for mental health, like the benefit of gaining knowledge, reading books. If you're sitting at home now, you say, and it's something that you want to learn, I mean, watch a video on it. We got everything on Google and YouTube now, just about, whether it's business and finance, whether it's learning a digital program, whether it's learning how to organize your house. I mean, whatever it is, we have that. So it's like, use this time wisely. Like, a lot of people are just laying around, picking up weight, eating everything because they're just going to the store and just eating, not exercising physically or mentally. So I think the biggest benefit that anybody can have besides an artist is to just stay active every day, like life is going to get back to
Yeah.
saying, and not focus on what we can't do right now.
Yeah. I want to we've got a few more minutes for this question. So I think, Tatjana, you look like you had something that you wanted to say. And we've got one more, and then we're going to get into the Q&A.
Okay. Mine's twofold. One of my favorite things to always say is pay people. I know that everyone's already said that, but I think we lose sight that a lot of people are at home, and this is for not just like the quote unquote starving artist, right? There's a lot of people that are still capable of working. There are a lot of people that are not spending money by going out and ordering food all the time or going to the bars all the time. So like one of the things that I've been trying to do and trying to challenge people is, even if you take a small portion of that money that you used to spend all the time by going out and support one or two artists without wanting anything in return, right? Like, I think that's something that would be really beautiful if one of the things I've tried to do is challenge people to spend the cover that they would have paid to go in a vocab to send to another artist that they like for no reason, you know what I mean? Or to a business that's going to try to stay, or even the White Rabbit, so they can keep their doors open. I think one of the things that we have to do is, while the people that are struggling are usually the ones that are helping everyone out, but there's a lot of people in this world that in the city that have a little bit of extra finances, that $10 to somebody would be huge and not want anything in return from them. And I think another thing that would be really important is us as artists to start thinking about skill sharing and bartering our tools and our gifts with each other, to start thinking about ways where we can build each other up and create a system where we are like an unstoppable force, right? And it's actually something, it's gonna be a little bit of a plug that we're trying to work on for Cafe Creative, is creating a space for that. But I think it's gonna be a tool that institution, like, we can wait for everyone to try to give us money, like Gary said, right? But we also can create a foundation on our own outside of that, outside of money, to build each other up, to be able to create a system that is unstoppable. So I'll leave it at that.
All right, so our final question is, what role can art and artists play in building the future?
Well, so on a smaller scale to start, I think what we are seeing highlighted right now is what has been the constant and eternal role of the arts and creativity on planet Earth, which is to root us, connect us, and move us forward, and also record, record what's happening, document. That's what the arts have done always, is documenting what's happened, how we're feeling, and connect us and inspire us. So I think it's only being highlighted right now in a way that I think reminds the general public what it is that they seek us out for, why it is that it's important to foster and nourish all these creative inclinations in our children and in our families, and the way it builds the future is really the same thing. Because once we have documented what's happening with our creative skills, and once it has reminded all of us how connected we are and can be and should be, and once our arts have inspired other people, not just other creatives, but just people who need inspiring in their own personal lives, in their own personal thoughts and endeavors and hopes and dreams. Those things, looking at the current and the present, are what move us forward into a future that's more inspired, more motivated, more connected. I think the highlighting of the creative realm right now will positively impact our future, because around the world, we're being reminded why it is that the arts have existed since the beginning of whenever anyone could think to be creative or have a creative thought, why it has lasted this long, why it is a discipline in and of itself to be a creative person and individual. we're being reminded of that, and it's, I think, going to build a more intentional and connected future, and one where creativity is not seen as just something with an artistic craft, but creativity in all the realms, in the same way that artistic creatives have had to be creative in other ways. Other creatives, I think, will be reinvigorated, and I think we're going to see a boom of a lot of things beyond just the technological booms that we've seen. It's going to be human. It's going to be human boom of creativity and enlightenment and enrichment. Um, that's what I'm hoping for.
I would say that, man, that was so powerful in what you just said. And I agree, man, to the 10th power. And the reason why I say that is because when I think about my journey and just being a creative and just being involved with the arts, how it's healed me along the journey. And I think like right now, so many people who are tapping into the creative space because they forced to, or who has been doing it and doing it at a higher level because of the situation we in, are really going through a healing right now in so many different ways, emotionally, mentally. And I think when we come out of this, you know, like it's gonna really, I can see two worlds really coming together. When you think about, you know, the level of consciousness where, you know, we people are starting to understand the power of eating and how that helps manifest the other component of being creative. I think people start understanding all of this is part of the healing. This is part of the human therapy aspect of it. Um, just even from the writing aspect, poetry. I mean, getting that energy out, getting those thoughts out, man. Like I've been journaling more now because I took the time to go get me a spiritual counselor because I was like, man, what better time to do it? Like I've been using art to heal, but I need somebody to converse with and dig deeper because I know what my life has been like. It's not like when people see me, they see pain on me. I just know how my thoughts are at times and why I feel the way I feel. I know why I feel the way I feel, but I've never had to be able to have, you know, personally have a parent that I can talk to and we just kind of talk about those things that we didn't correct because my parents are not here. But I think a lot of people are going through these situations and they're starting to discover a new them, a new thing that they can do, and they're starting to heal from the things that they didn't get a chance to heal from because they was going to work every day, hitting the pavement, getting worn out, and didn't have time to reflect. Because if you really think about it, we go to work, you know, we're trying to, if we got kids, we're trying to make sure the household's straight, and then you resting and sleeping, and then you still got to do, you know, things in between. So you never really have time to dig internally and heal, or let alone like Ess was talking about, the self-care aspect of it. And I think right now we're going to be more focused on self-care and therapeutic approaches in life than we've ever had in the history of time.
I think, yeah, what everybody's been saying has been spot on for the way that I see things too. When we think about coming out of this and art playing a role in the future, I see more people really wanting to engage with public arts and wanting to be outside of the house more, and using maybe even some bigger institutions, noticing and realizing that there needs to be more green space, and there needs to be spaces, there need to be these spaces filled with beautiful things that people can engage with, and not only on their own, but with others, to maintain this connective tissue that we are starting to build right now. I know that art and artists are definitely going to be a major part of that. And really the role that we're going to play is the same role that we've always played, just on a more recognizable, more appreciated scale, so to speak.
Just so that we have time to answer some of the attendee questions, I'm going to cut this answer short, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to look in the chat for questions, and I'm just going to give a few people just about a minute to respond, just so we can get through as many as possible. So for those of you watching, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll get to as many as we can. We've got one that I don't think hasn't been addressed at all yet, and it's from Keenan. What are some other resources or tools that y'all are using that other artists could benefit from? So just, if you got a minute to respond to that.
I would say Canva for me, and Clavio, which is an email marketing, building your email list, things like that. These are powerful tools that can really generate a relationship with you and the person on the inside, the end user or a person who's trying to follow you. Now you can communicate, you can get the message out a lot clearer, and you can get more return if you put a product out. That's what I use.
Yeah.
I can speak for just generally, if you have been wanting to create a website for yourself, I used Wix and it was insanely user friendly. The only thing to get overwhelmed by is all the options and tools they have available. So that was really helpful to me as an artist with a purely social media platform online, to have somewhere solid and uniform and consolidated that I can have my brand. I used Wix.com. And then also, if you have it, GarageBand or something like it, it can be used for so many things. Just as a place to keep neat and tidy audio. And so you can see what you're doing and how you're affecting audio once you start editing, as well as anything where you have a video and you need audio for it. For my performers, if you need tracks and things, YouTube still has karaoke versions of stuff and you can still convert those into MP3s. That time has not passed. We can definitely tap into that right now. For those of you who can't get in touch with your band or can't perform with your band, they still got tracks on YouTube and you can still turn those into MP3s.
So another question that I think Gary kind of addressed just a little bit already. What kind of institution building among artists needs to take place to best serve artists' needs short-term and long-term? So if you guys, if anyone else wants to take this, got a minute to respond to that. Anyone? All right.
So I went to go read the actual words of the question.
Yeah.
So largely, I think collaborative platforms are super beneficial right now. Even after this is over, I think collaboration will be handled and looked at a lot differently. Because that's also a way I thought that we could feed each other as artists, is to collaborate and, like some of you said, to trade our skills and goods and services in order to build one another up. And I think collaboration is going to propel from that now and after. So anything where it's a group of artists creating something together and then giving that to the community, or letting that be something that the community can engage in, I think that'll be more the focus and more what's needed now and after this pandemic opens up its doors again.
Yeah. All right, well, we're supposed to be out of here by 4:30, and it doesn't look like there are any more questions in the chat, so I'm just gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you all for your time. Thank you for your answering and discussing, and thank you for your work in the community as artists. And thank you all attendees and those watching again for tuning into our weekly online town hall. When the webinar ends, a short survey will pop up. We would appreciate if you took a minute to give us honest feedback along with ideas for future topics. Another window will also open to our Lead Support Fund donation page. If you were able to give away any amount, it would help us sustain our weekly 500 lottery grant giveaway. Tune in next week for another winner. So until next week, stay safe, and we'll get through this. All right. Have a good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Peace and light.
You too.
Be well.
Take care, everybody.